Listen to my podcast about sports.
Howdy, Ags from the Tailgate, home of Aggie football. This is Coach and the delivery man. Corey, what's up, bro?
What's up, buddy?
Today's episode brought to you by Frida Homes, building Aggie dreams, custom home builders with over 15 years of experience in the Brazos Valley. If you're looking for someone that cares about you and the details that you care about, contact Frida Homes. Visit them on Instagram at frida.homes or give Justin a call at 979-450-4466. When you call, just remember, everyone loves their Frida Homes. All right. Don't forget, folks, email us at agstailgate@gmail.com. Questions, comments, whatever. Visit us on YouTube. Subscribe. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. You can also find us on the Pigskin Podcast Network. TPPN.
Right there.
All right. So we're everywhere.
Right up.
Some comments from last week after last week's episode.
Let's hear it.
Greatest ever says, man, you two just hate Jimbo. Damn, sounds almost personal.
It's not personal at all. We don't hate Jimbo. We just want him to get his shit straight.
Listen,
right?
No hatred for Jimbo whatsoever.
Just get
except
it right.
for the fact that
Can't call plays.
his results have not been there, right?
Yeah.
We hate the results. Last season's results were pathetic. There's
Right.
no reason we should end up at 5-7 with the roster that we have here. Not only that, his offense has been pathetic. Since he's gotten here, it's not been good.
No.
So it's not hatred for Jimbo, it's hatred for the results. You got to perform. That's it.
Yeah. If he does well next year, we'll love him.
Love him.
Hear a lot of good stuff.
Lil Chi 721 says he thought DJ Durkin left Ole Miss because he hated Kiffin. He probably did hate Kiffin. His own brother left Ole Miss because he hates his brother. So that's not outside of the realm of possibility, but it's probably also just one of the factors. Better talent at A&M also gives him a lot of incentive to come here and coordinate that defense, especially if he has any aspirations of being a head coach again. And then there's the money, which he got double the pay from what he was making at Ole Miss to here at A&M. He went from like $700,000 to $1.5 million. So a few factors on that.
And the thing about Lane Kiffin, he's just a big kid. He's really immature. If I was out at a bar, I'd probably hang out with the guy. I'd probably have a good time. But as a coach and where he's at, no.
The longer he's been places, the worse they've been. So that's sort of tells you something.
It's going downhill.
You had a shout out that you wanted to.
Oh, yeah. The guys from UPS, Pete, Caleb, Ram. Thanks for all the comments y'all give me at work. I appreciate it. Y'all just bashing me. I love it.
Love it.
Ram, it's for you. There's a Propel.
Hey, send us some of those comments on the YouTube or to the email, and we'll get those comments out on the air.
Yeah, please
love
do.
it. Corey, let's start off. Obviously, we're going to get into some A&M football here in a little bit.
Okay.
We'll talk quarterbacks of the SEC. But let's start off with basketball. 14-6 overall now, 6-1 in the conference.
Yep.
Look, huge win last night against Auburn, following a loss on Saturday against Kentucky. On the road, both games. Their next couple of games, Vandy and Arkansas. Yeah. On Saturday, Tuesday kind of situation. Right. Look, the Kentucky game, it's a 67-76 loss. That game was that score is not really indicative of the game.
They were winning at halftime.
They were winning most of the game till probably the last 10 minutes, and then sort of had a bad. They didn't close it out, right?
Strategy didn't work like I thought it should. We left a lot of wide open 3-pointers. I mean, Kentucky usually doesn't hit them, but they were hitting them that night.
Huge. Yeah, the threes for Kentucky were unexpected, but they definitely started to do that.
And then the Marvel Sheboy little tussle.
Yeah, which was interesting because if they'd have called the first one, which they should have called the shot in the face by Sheboy, the second one wouldn't have happened. But it is what it is. Yeah. Look, Boots with a good game, had 22, but in that game we didn't play very well, and in reality we led the majority of the game. Taylor, and I texted you this early in the game, I said, man, Taylor just needs to settle down. Too many turnovers, right?
He's been doing that a lot lately. I mean, it's just thing is he's not possessions. Buzz talks about it. We're giving away too many possessions. Other teams are getting more than we are because we're turning the ball over, and a lot of it goes with our point guard.
He's been streaky shooting the ball, and this one he was 4 for 11, 0 for 5 from 3. But usually that's not what has hurt us so much as the turnovers, right? Dexter Dennis also can make a shot, 2 for 9. And then overall, shot 3 of 16 from the three-point as a team from behind the three-point line. So all those things contributed. But I think even more than that, 16 second chance points and 16 points off turnovers with 16 turnovers. Got out-rebounded by 7. Offensive rebounds, 4 for A&M, 17 for Kentucky. There's your ball game.
Yeah, absolutely. It's true. I mean, they did a good job on Sheboy. Sheboy only had like 7 points in that game.
Now he sat the majority of the first half.
There were fouls, but that's a game plan. You
Right.
go after him. They double teamed him every time he touched the ball. But like I said, I think Marble or Coleman can play defense on him one-on-one and not leave those guys wide open. But
when Marble came off the floor after they had some A&M on A&M violence there, when he came off the floor, that hurt us. That stretch right after that, he was a key clog in that game plan, especially guarding Sheboy, right?
And what we've learned is that Boots needs the ball in his hand. He needs to be our primary ball handler. Wade needs to be out there. Yeah, he can handle the ball a little bit, but spotting up for threes, maybe a little bit of drive, but let Boots run the offense through Boots. And they did that against Kentucky.
And so now moving on to Auburn, which was a 79-63. Look, it's a butt whooping at Auburn, right?
Right.
At Auburn, absolute butt whooping. Auburn ranked, I think, had a 6-1 in the conference coming into the game.
Some 20-something game home winning streak snapped.
Unbelievable, right? Now they're not a big 3-point shooting team, but probably plays to our advantage. But Boots just absolutely was phenomenal. Goes off. Brilliant. Brilliant. Right? 30 points, 9 rebounds. I mean, the dude just played out of his mind, right? And Taylor had 15, a little bit more controlled. He, like you said, they didn't run the offense through him, so you didn't get those sort of silly turnovers at times. But
we're running like an NBA-style offense is what it is. You get your best player with the ball. You run a high pick and roll or screen for him, and he just takes it, and he's left-handed, and it throws a lot of people off because most guys are used to guarding people with right. He just takes it to the hole. He's 6'2".
Is that going to affect the minutes for Coleman and Marble? Because obviously, when you're doing that with Boots, you don't want as many guys in the lane.
You need more shooters. You need people out there to kick it. But I don't think it's going to. It didn't hurt us against Auburn.
Yeah.
And Auburn plays a lot like we do. They're more of a defensive team, fast. It's not pretty basketball.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They take a lot of bad shots.
It definitely seemed like in the first half of that game, look, the shots were going out. So they were hitting threes. They were doing those things. They were able to open up a lead.
Right.
In the second half, it really felt like it was just, just more aggressive, right? They weren't hitting the threes the same, but they started to go to the basket. They got fouled. They got lots of free throws out of the deal. And
they slowed the pace down a lot in the second half. I mean, they knew they had the lead. The ball was in their court basically most of the time. They were running that clock down to below 10 seconds just about every time they had the ball.
And only 9 turnovers for the game, right? Big difference from Kentucky to Auburn, 16-9. I mean, that's huge. So limiting the second chance points also for Auburn in that situation as well. Those two things seem to be a big factor. Because there's games when we score, there's games when we don't, right? When different guys get hot and whatnot, and it hasn't really affected necessarily that end. We've won games when we hit shots, and sometimes when we don't. But whenever we are sloppy with the ball and have the high number of turnovers, and when we allow a ton of second chance points on offensive rebounds, that's what's hurt us.
Right? No, I agree.
Look, 11 games remaining in the regular season, 6 at home of those 11.
All right.
Look, you played 2 against Arkansas, good team, right?
Yeah.
Mizzou, good team.
Yeah.
We've already beat them once.
Right.
Tennessee, superb team, really good. 17.
Had a lot of trouble against them.
17-3.
Yeah.
Overall, right now, right? Bama, one of the best teams in the country.
Yeah.
Auburn again. Mississippi State's a good team.
Mississippi State's good.
Look.
They gave Alabama a run for their money last night. They were beating Alabama by like 10 in the first half. Mississippi State was.
Yeah.
They were about 7 or 8 at halftime.
So those are some tough games in the remaining regular season there.
Yeah.
They probably need to get around close to 22 wins in the regular season.
What's their record right now?
Right? They're 14-6 right now, which is good, right?
11 games.
But they probably need to win another 8, maybe 7.
Yeah, they need the big wins. They need, like that last night, they need those big wins because the Wofford game killed them. That's a quad 4 loss. Murray State loss killed them as a quad 3, and that's something that the committee looks at.
So I feel like they have to beat the other teams, the Vandy, the Georgia, the LSU, the Ole Miss. They got to win those games.
Absolutely,
no question.
Right.
And then amongst those other teams, those quality teams, they got to at least split with those guys. Maybe go 4-3, 4-3, maybe 3-4.
Yeah.
In that group.
That's gonna be tough.
And get some quality wins out of that, right?
I don't see them beating Alabama. Alabama is just. They have a lot of talent.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to have to play. If we
it's last game of the season. Alabama might not have a whole lot to play for at the time, right? I mean, they might have locked up, the number one seed.
If that's what you're hanging your hat on, then I wouldn't. But Tennessee's really good. Those 2 games right there.
Tennessee is really good.
That's going to be those 2 will be tough.
So if you get to 21 in the regular season, 22, I think you should be in pretty good shape. Because then you may have an opportunity there to get another couple of wins there in the tournament, 1 or 2, but you don't have to do like a deep run in the tournament.
What did you say our record is right now again?
14-6.
14-6. So we get 22. That means we go 8-3. That means we're 22-9 going into the SEC tournament.
Yeah.
So I mean that should be a lock almost. I believe, and that's with those 4 wins. So yeah, it'd be 18-6, and you have to win those other 4 of those 3. Yeah. I see what you're saying.
If you come down from that 22 number to 21 or 20, then all of a sudden you got to have a longer run in that SEC tournament.
ESPN last night showed that they had Florida as one of the next 4 out ahead of A&M. We beat them twice. Does that make any sense? How does that make any sense at all?
I think some of those things will play themselves out as you go.
I hope Florida wins the rest of their games.
Right.
That just makes us look better.
Helps us, right? So hey, Buzz doing a great job.
Yeah,
gets them going. Now they've got this stretch run here, 11 games. Man, they're gonna have to play their best basketball throughout the rest of the season. It does look like he's made adjustments throughout the year that have made us better. So we'll continue to talk about.
Do you think we have any NBA guys on that team? You think Boots can go?
No.
I don't think he can either.
I don't think there's one NBA guy on that team.
I don't either. That's what's amazing about this.
Very highly for what Buzz does, right? All right, football news. One, we hear Brian George committed to Houston. Obviously, transferred out. He's enrolled.
Good luck to you, Brian.
Look, Santucci takes the defensive coordinator job at Duke, so goes back to his boy.
Yeah.
Look, and Elko, we know, did a phenomenal job over there at Duke.
Yeah.
And their defense at times wasn't really the thing that drove that team necessarily. That offense really was in most cases what really drove that team. But, he's bringing a guy that was with him before he got to A&M.
Yeah.
Came with him to A&M. Came back to A&M with him. I mean, that's his dude, right?
Yeah.
And obviously it was very clear to me from linebacker play was horrible last year. Linebacker play was really bad the last 2 years, which under Santucci. But it's very clear to me that he did not necessarily see eye to eye with Durkin. I don't think that those two guys were on the same page. And so I don't know that, in all honesty, I don't think it really hurts us. The question is, can we get better? And I don't know, because do you trust Durkin and Jimbo to hire the right guy?
Right now, I mean, I don't think he can do any worse than we did last year.
True.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, either way you go.
Durkin historically has been a linebacker.
We don't have enough. We don't even have enough linebackers to have a linebacker coach.
Yeah.
I mean, why do you need them when we have like 2 linebackers on the roster? Do you really need a coach for that?
Durkin historically has been a linebackers coach. He could move down and coach the linebackers and then bring in a safeties guy, right, or move some things around and get a.
Let Durkin coach the linebackers, somebody else coach the defense. I like that. I like where you're going with that.
I would definitely do that. But I don't think that's going to happen.
Oh, damn. But I just don't understand. Okay, so Santucci, he doesn't do a great job with our linebackers, but he gets hired as a defensive coordinator at Duke.
Well, but that's more about his history with Elko. Right?
It has to be. It has to be
the
relationship.
Yeah. All 100% his history with that. Did you want to say something about your drink over here?
No, the Propel.
Yeah.
My guy Ram, he gave me a hard time. But I love the Propel water, man. I drink the hell out of it.
Ags Tailgate, sponsored by Grape Propel. Grape Propel. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Defensive tackle, Samu, the big guy, 300.
Huge.
Yeah. He's signed. So he signed the NIL back in the
We knew it was coming.
We knew it was there.
Yeah.
And he just was waiting to announce it because he wanted to do it for his birthday and all this stuff. So
Right.
he asked the coaching staff to sort of hold on to that. But he's officially signed.
Now, with him in the middle,
Yeah.
that's right there. I mean, I could almost see a 3-man front sometimes with him in the middle. That would make more sense, would it not? Because he's huge.
Sure.
I mean, what is
Sure.
he? 300?
370?
Huge. I mean, it's going to take
monster.
2 guys to move him.
Yeah.
That makes more sense. But do you have guys that are quicker defensive tackles like Jackson and
Listen,
sorry, I'm getting off subject. Nolan, but
I'll say this: I would never play a 3-man line with this team with the amount of talented defensive linemen we have. I just say put more of them on. I'd play 5-man line. Actually.
Oh, I love it.
That's what I would do. I'd play with 5-man line, 1 linebacker. There you go.
That's what we did last year.
No, we do 3-man line and 1 linebacker.
Yeah, didn't work out.
We had Tyron Smith, the wide receiver from UTEP, in the portal. This guy, was a big-time producer for UTEP. 71 catches, 1,039 yards last year.
Mm-hmm.
But he's tiny. He's a slot guy, 5'7", like 170 pounds is what UTEP had him listed at. Maybe he's a little bit taller than that, but the point is slight.
Yeah.
Not a burner,
Yeah.
but he plays in the slot. He's shifty, very sudden.
He's probably the best player on that UTEP team.
Yeah, I'll say this for this guy, and look, he's a needed addition for depth on this team. He's definitely a guy that's going to be in the rotation practice wise. If Anais Smith comes back, he will not get much playing time.
No, but we saw what happened last year with the wide receiver depth. I mean, it went from a big room to a very small room in a little bit of time.
Now, in 2 years, by the way, because he's got a couple of years of eligibility left, in 2 years, Anais and Moose leave, then he can fill that. Not this coming season, but the season after. He gets a lot more playing time. We still don't know what's going on with Preston. He hasn't. Nothing's really been said. We assume that he's coming back, but really that's still out there. I would love to have him back. I think he's a great. He's a great part of this team. He's a senior, a guy that's been around. So
I don't think they use him right. I mean, You say he makes plays, he doesn't get on the field.
When he gets on the field, he makes plays.
I never understood that.
And then another piece of news is we had another commit to the 23 class, the current class, already enrolled, wide receiver Raymond Cottrell, 4-star guy that was committed to Georgia, decommitted from Georgia. He's enrolled. He's on campus. He's already here. Look, 6'2", 203 pounds. This guy's a big, physical dude. Like he's body type. You're talking those. I mean, obviously these are the top of the top, but you're talking guys AJ Brown, DK Metcalf type body types.
Yeah,
like big, thick, strong, physical receivers.
You're saying my name. You're talking about
great addition, I think, to the class.
Yeah,
and helps with depth too, right?
Absolutely. Good hands, you said.
Good hands, yeah.
I mean, but
and good with the ball in his hands, right? You get the ball in his hands, the dude is going to sit in there. He's going to try to get you some extra yardage. He's not a burner or anything like that, but he's a big dude, very physical.
They say not a burner. I didn't know if Mike Evans came out. I don't remember him saying he was a burner,
right?
But he's just such a big guy that can go up and get it.
And I think his speed is underrated.
Right?
Mike Evans' speed is sort of underrated, right? Because he's a long strider. It almost doesn't look like he's running as fast, but I never saw him get caught.
One-on-one balls, he always.
Oh, done.
That's what we need is a one-on-one guy. I mean, you got that. Stewart can go do the one-on-one.
Yeah.
Moose, but if we get another third guy like that, it's amazing.
Connor announces he's not going to play baseball. Makes a lot of sense. He's going to take the reins at the starting quarterback job.
He can always go back. He can always go back to baseball.
All right, DraftKings Sportsbook, right behind us. Look at this.
Come on, being a white thing.
Look at this. DraftKings.
There you go.
DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, is my go-to when betting on the NFL this season. I love DraftKings, man. I love the fact that you can sit in there and put like the different bets together, teasers, parlays, man. It's great. They offer lots of different prop bets and everything else, man.
Yeah.
You can anything you want to bet on, you can almost find it there on DraftKings. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 on any NFL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets. If they do, Check this out. Right now, everyone can earn up to 100% boost with DraftKings stepped up same game parlays. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app, place a same game parlay, and combine multiple bets like which team will win, player props, point totals, and more. The more legs you add, the bigger the boost, the bigger your shot to win big. Love those huge payouts with the big time parlays. I love it. All right. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use the code TPPN. Place a $5 bet on any NFL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. Only at DraftKings Sportsbooks with the code TPPN. DraftKings, folks. Get up there. All right, Corey.
Big payouts, huh?
Big payouts.
We haven't seen those yet. I need to see that.
All right, Corey. So
gotta hit something.
Today's topic, we're going to sort of go into this, and as I was thinking, Connor, after he announced obviously that he was going to stick around and not play baseball,
right?
Where does Connor rank among SEC quarterbacks in 2023? And this is part of the process that I'm thinking about because
we're talking about all 14 schools.
All 14 schools. Where's he ranking? And this is behind the backdrop, obviously, that Bennett is gone.
Yeah.
Young is gone.
Yeah.
Hendon Hooker, gone. Right?
Yep.
So a lot of new quarterbacks, a lot of the top quarterbacks are out of here.
Right.
Where does he now sit as far as what we think or what everybody's generally projecting to be the guys starting in 2023? And I think the only place to start this conversation is, I think it's hard to rank them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1 through 14.
Right.
I do think it's hard
because
a lot of these guys I think are very, very close.
Right.
And let's start just by saying.
And by the way, people, this isn't an opinion. These are facts. Whatever we tell y'all here are facts. Yeah.
Everything we say on this show is a fact. Fact.
It's a fact that we believe it.
Yeah. Look, and let's name some of these guys.
Go ahead.
Right? And,
Go ahead.
And,
I'll tell you what I think.
And Vandy, AJ Swan, right? Probably is their starter. He's coming back from last year.
Yeah.
Auburn, it's probably Robbie Ashford.
Which he's got some talent. The guy's got.
He started making some plays last year.
He's got some
but
talent.
It's new staff, a lot of stuff going on, a lot of change in Auburn. So you never know.
Yeah.
They could technically go with maybe a younger guy, retro freshman from last year's recruiting class.
Freeze,
with a new coach.
And Freeze does some weird stuff on offense.
Yeah.
So it could be a blessing in disguise for Ashford. He could shoot way up on our ranking
for sure. Florida's got a competition now with Richardson gone. They've got Jack Miller, an Ohio State transfer last year. They've got a recruit from last year, Max Brown, and then Graham Mertz this year from Wisconsin, who started at Wisconsin. To get into that competition.
Right.
So some different guys in that mix. Mizzou, Brady Cook coming back. You figure he's still got the job. They did get a transfer from Miami. And
is this
Jay
tier
Garcia.
4 guys? Is this where they started?
We're just going to name them all.
All right.
Georgia, obviously, it's a competition now that Bennett's gone.
Who's
Beck was the backup last year, and he played a little bit last year. You think that he's probably the guy that's going to take the reins.
System is so good that it's almost a plug and play, isn't it? I mean, you have the talented guy that comes in. You have so much talent around him.
And here's the thing: they've been recruiting talented quarterbacks for the last couple of years, and they're all sitting over there waiting to get their shot. But yeah, the talent around them is going to be ridiculously good. So they don't have to be the guy that just takes over the offense. All they have to do is get the ball to the playmakers, right? Their running game is going to be legit next year too, by the way. Bama, we saw Jalen Milroe, right?
I wasn't really impressed.
We'll see sort of what happens there. Obviously, they've got other highly touted young guys in the mix as well. Ole Miss, Jackson Dart, Spencer Sanders transfers in from Oklahoma State. See what's going on there. Tennessee, Joe Milton.
Like what I saw.
Is there? They've got one of the best freshman incoming quarterbacks, Nico Iamaleava. So if Milton, I think that's a situation that's
Milton's going to be.
It's Milton right now.
Yeah.
LSU with Jalen Daniels, Garrett Nussmeier. You've got Kentucky gets Leary. From NC State, which I think is pretty big.
Right.
Mississippi State, Rogers coming back. South Carolina, Spencer Rattler coming back. Arkansas, KJ Jefferson coming back.
Yeah.
All right. So now, having sort of identified the players here.
Yeah.
Let's start at the top.
Okay. If I'm taking my tier 1 guy, number 1, what I saw at the end of the season last year, I take Spencer Rattler.
Yeah.
I mean, he impressed me. He showed me what he showed me at Oklahoma the first season. Not the second one, but the first one where he's throwing the ball, he looked composed.
And as we go through this, let's talk about sort of what some of the criteria we're using here. Obviously, past performance is a big piece of this, right? What have these guys proven? What have they done? What do they look like?
Yeah,
right?
Watch them do.
And then the next piece is potential, right?
Exactly.
And potential has a lot to do with, okay, how were they rated in the past? What
I'm talking like going to the next level, NFL. Right. And I think Spencer Rattler, coming after his freshman season, he was number 1 to be.
Yeah, people thought he'd be the number 1 pick coming out this past year, right?
And he's got a good arm. He's mobile. He's it's just right here. It's all between. It's his head.
And South Carolina, as the season went on, they just got better and better and better and better. And he played better and better and better and better. And now they're coming back for another year underneath that system.
Yeah.
And the talent around them is getting better because they're starting to recruit better and do different things. So, I think his stock is only going to rise next year.
Right.
And I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of this coming season, he's in the conversation about sort of first-round type quarterback coming out of South Carolina.
Right.
So I would agree with you with Spencer Rattler.
Who else? Of course, Jefferson. He's very talented, big guy. The system they run there helps him out a lot because
they're going to have a new OC.
Well, I think it's going to hurt him a little bit because a lot of the play action helps him out a lot. He's mobile. They play to his strengths.
Yeah, so
he's not a slinger. He's not a gunslinger. He's not like a guy that sits back there and can throw it 50 times and beat you. He's going to take his chances downfield, beat you with his legs. If he stays healthy.
Look, you know me, man. I'm a huge KJ Jefferson fan, and it's for a couple of reasons. One is that every year he's played, he's gotten better. And you go watch him. Mm-hmm. That tells me that he's a hard worker. He's a guy that really gets after his trait, and tries to do the things. He's coachable. He's all those things, right? And not only that, but that dude will take that team on his back if he needs to. Right? And to me, that's another attribute for a quarterback that you just say, oh, wow. Yeah. And so I'm a big KJ Jefferson fan. I don't know, like you said, what's going to happen under this new system. Is that going to be worse for him?
A lot of questions.
And the head coach is a former O-line guy, so he's an offensive guy. So maybe there's some continuity in that situation because the head coach is going to try to do some. But at the end of the day, that does leave a little bit of a question mark with KJ. What's the system around him going to look like, right? But as far as just quarterback play, I think he's got to be in that top tier.
He's right up there, yeah.
Rodgers at Mississippi State, what do you think?
Well, he's been there for 10 years. He's got to be, up there. He's always putting up solid numbers, and that was with Leach around. We don't know what to expect next year. I can't imagine it changing too much. It's going to be a short, quick passing game. He's accurate, doesn't turn the ball over a whole lot. You know what to expect. I mean, is he an NFL quarterback? Maybe a career backup.
Well, we're talking college, right?
But yeah, he's good. I mean, he's good.
Look,
Mike Leach really believed in him.
The guy's been playing since he was a freshman, right? And the production that he's had, I think, is unreal, just unbelievable numbers. The question with him, I think, is that what happens without Mike Leach, right? Yeah. And under a new system, how does that affect them, and what exactly they do? But as far as everything's concerned, I still think if coming into the season, that's a guy, one of the most proven guys in the league, one of the guys that's put up the biggest numbers in the league, along with Rattler and Jefferson.
I'd take him on my team in a heartbeat.
In a heartbeat.
Yeah, right? Yeah. I'd take him on. Yeah, because you know what you're getting from. He's not going to run a whole lot. He's going to get rid of the ball quick. He reads the defenses pretty well.
Do you conclude with the change in coaching? Do you keep him as a tier 1 guy?
Yeah, right now because I don't see the coaching change. It's Mike Leach's guys, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not. I don't think it's going to change a whole lot.
Anybody else fall into that tier 1 group?
I think Connor's right below that. I think the guy Leary from Kentucky. I'm just kind of iffy with him because I didn't see him last year. He's hurt. NC State.
Leary, who transferred from NC State.
Yeah, and it's ACC school, which let's be honest. ACC football is not SEC football. You come in. He's going to see a lot better athletes. When he goes up against Georgia, what's going to happen? Do they have a Georgia in the ACC? Anything like them? Clemson's the closest thing they have.
Look, I still think
day in and day out.
I still think based off of the production that he's had in the past, and he, last year wasn't his best year, but he was hurt and all those things, right? I think based off of the production that he's had in the past, people looked at him as a top 2-round type draft pick, right? Going into last year,
yeah.
And so he was in those kinds of conversations. Based off of, I think he's a tier 1 guy. And here's, I think, another thing that helps him. Look, Levis this past year under the Kentucky offensive coordinator didn't do very well. That Kentucky offense looked off, right? The year before, he was a lot better. Now, he had some more weapons around, but they had a different offensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
That offensive coordinator from 2 years ago is coming back.
Well, you know what Levis does? Levis uses feet a lot more than what people give him credit for. He's more athletic. I'm not sure Leary's going to do that.
No.
And so that could be an issue. Because he's not going to have a lot of weapons at Kentucky. He'll have some. Don't get me wrong. He'll have some talent. But
so tier 1 or no?
I'll put him right at him.
Maybe bottom of tier. Maybe
bottom of tier 1, top of tier 2, right there. Him and Connor.
So I think those are the guys. So that's the guys. They're proven. They've historically done it.
Yeah.
Some of them are going to have some different coaching going on, but they've proven that they can sling the ball a little bit, get the ball out there, make some plays as a quarterback. I think that's your tier 1. It's kind of crazy that we're saying those are your tier 1. We haven't mentioned Alabama. We haven't mentioned Georgia, obviously.
Yeah.
So
I don't know about them. We haven't seen anything.
All right. So
that's why we didn't say Connor in there.
How about tier 2?
That's what I'm saying. Connor's right there.
All right. So Connor's your tier 2.
Tier 2, I'm thinking guys that have the talent that we've seen a little bit of, like Connor. What's the guy from Tennessee again? Milton. We saw some of him last year. At first, when we first saw him at Tennessee, not that impressive.
Right.
Last year.
Look, I'm glad you brought up Joe Milton in Tennessee here because I have them squarely at that tier 2. I really do. Yeah. I was super, super impressed with how he played in the bowl game. Right, Hendon Hooker got hurt. He got hurt. He was gone. He was out of the game. He was out. And Milton came in that bowl game, after having been sort of taking first-team reps, obviously, for a couple of weeks underneath in the bowl practices and all that, the dude looked phenomenal in that game. We all knew he's got a cannon for an arm.
Yeah.
We all knew he's a great athlete.
Right.
That dude was making incredible throws and reads in that game, and I think it's a credit to the head coach.
Yeah, he puts a system in, and these guys buy into it. And after he saw what Hooker did, Hooker did the same kind of thing at Virginia Tech. It wasn't much. Came here, blew up. And Milton was the guy in front of Hooker to start his career at Tennessee.
And he's a lot more comfortable in that offense 2 years in now, right?
He's a big guy.
You can tell. Yeah.
Huge, big guy. I can't believe it.
You can tell how much better he's gotten there.
Yeah.
Very clearly.
I don't see a big drop-off, to be honest with you, between Hooker and Milton. After what I saw last year, the arm strength Milton has.
Look, we saw it in one game. He's going to have to do it.
Oh, yeah.
He's going to have to do it throughout the season, right? Mm-hmm. And week in and week out. He's going to have to prove that he can consistently throw the ball and get the ball to the wide receivers and the playmakers on that Tennessee offense. Right. Like I said, in the bowl game, boy, he looked really good.
Might be our sleeper for the Heisman next year.
It could be. So I do think, and so that tells me he's got a chance to be one of those tier 1 guys by the end of the season.
Just don't have enough tape.
But we just don't have enough tape, right? We got to see him do it. And the tape we have hasn't always been great.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
They also have an incoming freshman, probably the number 1 or 2 quarterback in the class.
Right.
And the reason I bring it up, not because he's going to really compete for that starting job at the beginning of the season. I think that's Milton's job. But if Milton falters, I wouldn't be surprised if you see him at some point in the season.
I think Milton's going to falter pretty bad.
Yeah. All right, so in that tier 2, who else with Milton? I agree with you. Look, and by the way, let's
give me some names here. Give me some names.
Let's take a little bit of time here because I do want to talk about Connor. Obviously.
Yeah, Connor's. We saw how many games? I don't know, 4 or 5 games last year, in and out of the lineup. A terrible offensive line, a terrible play calling scheme. He wasn't set up for success, but he did a good job for what he had.
Here's a couple of things, right? And look, we believe in Connor.
Right.
You believe in Connor.
Yeah.
I believe in Connor.
Yeah.
The coaching staff clearly believes in Connor. I think the fan base believes in Connor and has huge expectations for him.
Yeah, don't let us down.
But bring it back a little bit because
everything.
he's only in his second year. He did get like
True
5
sophomore.
stars, true sophomore, right?
Yeah.
He's got the tools. He's definitely got the tools. He's got the arm. He's got the athleticism. He's got the size. He's got the tools. This is going to be a new system with Petrino, right?
Mm-hmm.
The thing that's encouraging to me is that there's weapons on the outside.
Yep.
There's weapons in the backfield. There's weapons at tight end. And so those things are good. He's got good chemistry. He's thrown to all these guys because a lot of those guys are coming back.
Right. And hopefully the offensive line has more experience.
Right. The thing I will say is that we also saw him against Auburn, where at some point in that game, especially with Auburn's defense having putting a lot of pressure and some hits on him, like he looked lost at times in that game, right? Like he could not complete a pass. I think he missed, I don't know how many passes in a row at one point, but we've seen that.
Right.
We've seen that. So, and that's as a freshman.
Mm-hmm.
His numbers weren't spectacular throughout the season, right? His numbers were what all Jimbo quarterbacks' numbers were last year.
Right.
Up until that last game against LSU.
Right.
And you look at that game against LSU and everybody's talking about how good that offense was. Remember that game against LSU also involved some big plays with big catches by those wide receivers, right? It wasn't necessarily always the perfect throw or this and that. It was like he gave those receivers an opportunity and those receivers made the plays.
Exactly.
So I say all that to say we really like the dude. We've got some good expectations for him, but he still has to do it.
Yeah.
He still has to show up and actually go through that process and do it, right?
For what we have on our roster, he's by far our best chance or best option.
Oh, there's no question. And I do think that he's in this tier 2 right now based on what he's done so far.
Chance to go up.
And the potential to get it, right? I do think that he squarely belongs in that tier 2. And just like we talked about Milton, man, if it all comes together for him with Petrino, and if it all comes together for him with those receivers that we talk about all the time in Stewart, Moose, maybe Anias, Thomas,
Green
at tight end, right? With those guys, man, lots of potential to be very, very exciting on offense, right? He didn't turn the ball over. That's a great sign, especially as a freshman.
Right.
That's what gives you the excitement.
It wasn't an ideal situation that he came into.
No.
There was by no means that we
far from it.
Our freshman quarterback to play as much as he did. I think they had plans to try to redshirt him maybe and ease him in, but injury. Next thing you know, he's starting.
Yeah. So
I'm glad he did. I wanted him on the field the whole time.
Yeah.
You know that.
Look, and I do think that the experience is going to serve him very well going into next year. We're gonna get a chance to see these guys in this new offense here in the spring in a couple months, and I'm excited to see that.
Oh yeah, I love the spring game.
The other thing that I'm excited about with the new offense is I think he's going to be able to get the ball down the field some more than we did last year.
Oh,
so the potential's there, and we've seen the tools. I think that's why we put him in tier 2, right?
Yeah. Who else you got?
How about as I'm looking at this? Once again, I'm sort of like thinking you still haven't talked about Alabama, but I don't think I'm there. I don't think I'm there with them yet. And
we focused on that game because we watched the whole game. That quarterback, Milroe, is that his name? How you say it? We didn't. I mean, he's athletic, strong arm, not accurate. It just.
Yeah. So I'm not ready to put them. I do think though that the guys at LSU probably are the tier 2 with an opportunity to get Daniels. I think is who he is, and I think we know who he is, right? I do expect this to be probably a 2 quarterback system, especially early on in the year. Nussmeier is a guy that impressed me a lot at the end of the year. Bowl game, SEC championship game when he came in, he made some plays against Georgia. And then in the bowl game, he looked good at times as well and made some big plays. And I think he's the X factor there because, in all honesty, if he overtakes Daniels, now Daniels came back, right? If he overtakes Daniels, I think that team has a higher potential, right?
I think so too. I mean, Daniels was good for what it was last year because it's basically a new team. Had a bunch of transfers, a bunch of players coming in, and Daniels can use his feet to get around out of situations. Mm-hmm. But now you have a more established offensive line. The offense is another year in.
And look,
I think your future you're talking about, and that's fine.
You never wonder whether they got the athletes on the outside. You know those guys are there.
They always
you know those guys are there, right? So to me, that's another guy that has the potential to go from this tier 2, where I sort of got him jumped in as a tier 2 as the combo between the two of them. I think if he takes over that role, it's because he's playing well enough to overtake Daniels significantly, and I think it might bump him into tier 1.
It's crazy, man. You think about the NFL top wide receivers, and like Justin Jefferson pops in your head, Chase. I mean, they all went to LSU.
They all went to LSU. And some. So yeah, I think that's sort of my tier 2. And once again, we haven't talked about Alabama. So let's go to tier 3 because I think this is sort of where those folks. And just so people know, I ended up breaking this into 5 tiers. 5. And there's a reason for the 5th tier. It probably could have been 4, but there's a reason for the 5th tier.
All right.
3rd tier here, these are guys probably that we just don't know anything about. Right? And so, or that we know exactly who they are in the case. And I'm going to start there. Ole Miss. You've got Jackson Dart, Spencer Sanders. Look, neither of those two guys were really impressed you that much.
Well, Jackson Dart, you expected him to be more of a throwing quarterback coming out of USC, had a reputation. Didn't throw the ball as much as I thought they would last year. Didn't have to. Had a great running game. But now they bring in Spencer Sanders.
It kind of throws you for a loop, right? Like you think that Kiffin maybe was happy enough with Dart and he was going to get him to second year, another year in the system. Maybe he progressed. Because one of the big problems with Dart was he was great when he was sitting back in the pocket and his first read or early reads were there. Man, he can deliver the ball. He can put it in the right spot. He can do all those things. When he's under pressure, or when he has to sort of come off into the third read, or then you just never knew what he was going to do.
Right.
It was a complete. I mean,
who wins that job?
Coin flip.
Who wins that job? Ole Miss. I can't imagine Spencer Sanders transferring to a school like Ole Miss without thinking he's going to be the starter. I mean, he was
but just because he thinks player. Just because he thinks it doesn't make it happen.
Yeah, he was an All Big 12 player preseason last year. He sucked,
and it's his last year, right?
Yeah,
this is it. So this is it for him.
Yeah, he sucked.
So you would think
I'm not trying to say he sucked but he was not good last year. It was not impressive.
Look, I wasn't impressed. I wasn't impressed with Jackson Dart overall throughout the season. I wasn't impressed with his poise or his ability to make plays outside of like the normal.
Mm-hmm.
I think Spencer Sanders probably wins this job.
Yeah, I agree.
And, I think Spencer Sanders is an okay quarterback. I just don't think he's a great quarterback.
Yeah, tier 3. There you go.
So tier 3. There you go. Bama. And I think this is where we land in Bama. Okay. And once again, it's because of the fact that we really don't know.
Gotcha.
Right? We saw Jalen Milroe. We saw him firsthand play the Aggies. And he did not play well. As a matter of fact, he almost gave that game away
I don't know how many
to a bad Aggie team.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm not saying bad. What are you talking about bad?
Bad Aggie team. 5-7.
Come on.
Lost to App State.
Bite your tongue.
Bad Aggie team. And he almost lost that game for them. He's not a comfortable thrower, right?
Nope.
He wasn't confident in going through his progressions. He wasn't confident in making a decision and delivering the football. The one thing he is, though, is a freaking athlete.
Yeah.
And that dude can make people look silly with his running ability, right?
Absolutely.
And so what I will say, and look, Bama's looking for a new offensive coordinator, right?
Went back to Patriots.
He went back to the Patriots, Bill O'Brien. So they're looking for a new offensive coordinator. We'll see who that ends up being. I think that's a big deal. It's probably a good thing for Alabama because you know how I feel about Bill O'Brien.
Who's out there.
But when they come in, they gotta get somebody in there, right? Because they gotta get these guys ready during the spring and start developing that kid as a thrower and ability to get the ball out. You know, the other problem that you see there is that they still don't have that talent at wide receiver that they had a few years back. That it didn't matter who the quarterback was because all they had to do is get the ball out to those guys.
Those guys were always open. They were always open. Just slants, just little slants and gone.
So that quarterback, maybe it is a situation where you say, okay, well, shoot, we're going to go in here and run the quarterback more. A lot more quarterback run, make this a running offense, then throw in some over-the-top type plays, play action and stuff like that. You know, and he can do that.
Oh, yeah.
You know? And so I think
more of a KJ Jefferson type?
More of a KJ Jefferson. Now, KJ, I think, has been throwing the ball a lot better. So he's not there, but it took time.
Yeah.
So maybe something like that, right?
2 or 3 is good.
But let's be clear also, there's 2 or 3 other guys that were highly recruited that are sitting on that roster. That's one that's been there for 2 years and a couple of freshmen also.
Right.
So they can very easily shift over to one of those guys, right?
Gotcha. Yeah.
But once again, we haven't seen any of those guys. The only one we've seen is Milroe, and we know he's got tools. But he's got to develop quite a bit more if he's going to be a tier 2, tier 3 type quarterback in the SEC.
Right. Can a tier 3 quarterback win games for Alabama next year? Go 10-2, 11-1 like they want to do?
I don't think so.
I don't either. I mean,
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Because back in the day, we used to be able to say, well, yeah, probably put it on the running game and the defense. But the defense has been down a little bit, right? They've
lost Anderson.
And they've lost some big-time pieces in Anderson. It was definitely their best defender. They've lost their best safety. Maybe their best 2 safeties are gone after last year. And so, I mean, do they got athletes? For sure. And they're replacing the defensive coordinator, so we'll see who takes over that job. But you figure that Saban is going to have a say in that piece.
Because LSU won the West last year. So, I mean, you're saying 2 years in a row Alabama's not going to win the West, huh? Wow, that's why I'm here.
We'll have to get into that a little bit closer to the season, but I'll tell you right now, I'm leaning that way for sure.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm listening.
In this same tier,
yeah,
I'm not sure that this is fair, but I'm putting Georgia. Yeah. And I say Georgia because I don't know who the quarterback's going to be. Like it's likely going to be Carson Beck, right? It's likely going to be Carson Beck, a guy that's been there for a couple of years. Has been in the system with Todd Monken, right? A guy that got some playing time last year, even in the national championship game, got to throw the ball a couple of times.
You got a national what? Oh, it was a blowout.
Yeah, it was a blowout. And then they've been recruiting through the roof since Kirby Smart's been there. So
for the last 4 years.
So they've got other guys that were 5-star type guys in Vandergrift, Stockton, So they're going to have a competition for the quarterback, but even more importantly, the reason I'm putting them in tier 3 is the system is going to be phenomenal because we saw those guys.
Yeah, I could go in there and play quarterback for those guys, and it's just
amazing. The pieces around them are going to be phenomenal.
You got
Brock Bowers.
Oh, come on!
And look, they're going to run the football next year. That back that was the freshman last year is going to be stupid good.
Yeah, and they have that wide receiver coming back, McKinstry or whatever.
Yeah, and they've got a couple of other pieces on the outside that they're very excited about. So I really think that because of all those things, it really doesn't matter which one of these guys it is. I think it's going to be Beck. He's going to be at least a tier 3. He probably is going to end up a tier 2. I've got him at tier 3 right now.
Well, look at Stetson Bennett. Anybody put him as a tier 1 coming in?
No.
We knew he was a tier 1 last year coming back.
But I would think this is more of a tier. This is Stetson Bennett last year, not Stetson Bennett this year.
Right.
Type of guy.
Gotcha.
Right?
Yeah.
But he was pretty good last year.
Right.
He didn't win a national championship.
Yeah.
I don't know if y'all remember that.
Yeah. Got lucky.
So to me, that's my tier 3, man. That's that group, and it really is Bama and Georgia, and it's very much about potential with those guys.
Very, very much so.
Tier 4 to me is a bunch of guys we know aren't really going to be all that good.
Who you got?
So Brady Cook at Mizzou. Are you impressed with him?
No. No. I was more impressed with Missouri's defense last year than I was their offense. And that's weird about talking about Missouri because usually they do something on offense to impress you and their defense lets up. But last year it was their defense that kept them in games.
Yeah, I as I watched him play, I just didn't see him as this guy that was a difference maker in any aspect of the game, right? Like, can he be a game manager and give you, yeah, sure. But he's never going to be this take this game over type of dude, right? And so he is who he is. Now, they get a guy, Jay Garcia from Miami in a transfer. I don't know. Maybe that guy comes out and he beats him out. And Jay Garcia was a pretty good recruit, But in reality, I mean, who knows what you're getting there. Obviously, he was at Miami. That doesn't probably bode all that great for him. So just, I just not impressed, right?
Yeah, I got you. There's a Miami.
Another team that normally has probably a bigger name here, but Florida.
Oh, yeah. They just lost Anthony Richardson.
And here's the thing that I'm sitting there now wondering about Florida was the Billy Napier hire really all that good? They didn't have, they're not really getting a ton of hype as far as the guys that they're bringing in and all those types of things.
Well, they're getting hype about the guy that's $13 million or something like that.
That's no longer on campus.
Exactly.
Right?
That's the kind of hype they're getting.
And so you take him out of the equation, I don't know. They have the quarterback room is definitely unsettled. I mean, they've got Jack Miller, an Ohio State transfer. They've got Mertz, the Wisconsin transfer. Look, Mertz was horrible at Wisconsin.
Yeah, I'm
right?
not impressed by that at all.
That dude was not good, and maybe they think, okay, we can put better people around him. But
they're going to need a mobile quarterback because they're going to be pressured the whole game.
And they haven't had these like top end wide receivers over there the last couple of years, and so
I mean that's what made Anthony Richardson successful was being able to run.
Yeah,
I mean, he didn't throw the ball for anything last year,
and his weapons around him weren't phenomenal, right? And all this, and I'm saying all this and saying like that's what I'm talking about. Billy Napier, the talent on this team is not what you're used to with Florida teams.
He can't put Louisiana Lafayette talent on a Florida team and expect to be competitive in the SEC. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And if he's trying to do that, then he's not going to win many games.
Yeah. So, once again, we're not impressed. Florida.
No.
Auburn and Robbie Ashford. Look.
That's another potential one.
The only thing that sort of gives you any excitement there is they've got a new coach.
Yeah, Hugh Freeze. I like him.
Hugh Freeze is a guy that's done it everywhere.
He knows how to beat Alabama.
And he was productive offensively everywhere, right?
Yeah. Liberty. I mean, look what he did at Liberty. Got Willis in the NFL.
Yeah, so, I mean, maybe he's that kind of magician. But we've seen Robbie Ashford play. And there was times when Robbie Ashford made some plays last year. At times looked even like a good quarterback. At times.
I'll tell you one thing.
Not very often.
I bet Auburn is a lot more fun to watch next year than what they have been.
Yeah. Now the question is, does the defense take a step back? Right.
I think the whole team as a whole, it'll be exciting games. They'll probably win some they shouldn't and lose some they shouldn't.
Yeah. And then the reason I reserved Tier 5 is because Vanderbilt's here.
Oh yeah.
And AJ Swan coming back, and he's going to. He's there's nothing that impresses you about him. Now they won a couple of games last year that they were not expected to win, but
yeah,
with him at quarterback, that's about all they're going to do.
So real quick, so coming back next year, who are the top quarterbacks? The guy from USC, Williams.
Yeah.
Who else is coming back that's a big name?
Drake at North Carolina.
Drake, huge name. Who else?
I think those two guys probably are at the top of the list. I don't know.
Because, last year we had Young and Stroud and Levis and what's his name from Miami that didn't do anything. Everybody was.
I guess he's back.
Well, yeah, what happened to that
Is
guy?
he back?
Anybody talking about him? But you know what I'm saying? I mean,
it is an interesting year for quarterbacks. It's going to be some transition, right? Because some of these guys that people are still not really, sure about. Hartman,
because a lot of the big schools.
Now is he at
Wake Forest quarterback?
Yeah,
he went to Notre Dame.
At Notre Dame now.
Yeah.
And who's the guy that transferred out to Wisconsin?
Throwing me a loop.
Yeah. Well, we'll get.
But what I'm saying is, it's weird. I mean, last year, Ohio State had a quarterback coming back. Alabama had their quarterback coming back. Georgia had their quarterback coming back.
Right.
Who's the other team that TCU lost their quarterback? So all 4 Final Four teams lost their quarterbacks. But the year before they were all coming back, we all knew what to expect.
You know what you were going to have in there.
So,
I mean, Max Duggan is not. I mean, obviously
we didn't expect that. But the other 3, you did.
And so it is interesting. It is, and Michigan's got their guy back.
Yeah, he impressed me. That guy impressed me.
So yeah, it's a transition year in the quarterbacks room in a lot of places in the country. Bo Nix is back out of Oregon.
How many years is that?
Like, he's been playing for like 15 years.
Him and Rodgers are in the competition, so who can play the longest.
All right. I think it's exciting because I think Connor is. It does tell you. Look,
I mean, we might have.
We're right around there, right?
We're a little biased.
We're right in the mix.
We're a little biased, but I think Connor.
Bias would have been putting him in tier 1.
I said he's right at the bottom of tier 1, maybe top, tier 2. But yeah, I mean, Connor, I wouldn't honestly out of that list you just gave me. There might be. I can't really think of anybody I'd rather have on our team, coach or quarterback in our team than Connor. I mean, can you? Who would you rather take? Would you rather take Spencer Rattler? Would you rather have KJ?
Maybe.
What do you mean, maybe? What the hell do you mean?
I think both of those guys, I mean, you got to at least think about, right? In all honesty.
I mean, if we're lining up.
If somebody's telling me, now here's the difference in those guys and Connor is that, Connor's going to play at least 2 more years. Both of those guys will be gone after next year. So who would you rather take? Probably Connor. Because you get him for a couple of years. But
I think in the long run.
But it's exciting, man. It's exciting to have a guy that's in that mix.
Connor's going to be the best NFL quarterback out of that group.
Because we haven't had one of those in the mix in a long time.
What's it, Mond? He was an NFL quarterback.
No. Get the hell out of here.
Oh, God.
Get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the NFL, man. Exciting football, by the way, this past weekend.
Crazy.
Look, the Chiefs-Jags game I thought ended up being a good game because of the fact that Mahomes gets hurt. Chiefs win 27-20.
We lost money on that game.
Yeah.
Player props is not a good way to go when Mahomes gets hurt.
Yeah, not good. When you went over on the completion.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, man, we were pulling for that one.
But ends up being a pretty good game.
Yeah.
Look, a couple of things that I noticed, by the way, from that team from previous years to this year. One is
you kept saying it.
They no longer are a vertical passing team.
Yeah, you kept
at
saying
all.
it the whole game.
Even before he got hurt,
yeah,
they weren't throwing the ball down the field.
Right.
Everything was within
10.
15 yards.
Yes.
And most of it was to Kelsey, by the way. Kelsey's a monster.
What do you have, 14 catches? Yeah, we took the over in that one.
That hit.
That hit quick. Real quick.
That dude's unbelievable. But and to what's impressive or what's actually shocking to me is that they don't do the vertical passing game because they lost Tyreek Hill, but it's not like they don't have guys that can go deep, right? Tony's a guy that's got speed, right? The guy from Green Bay, Valdez Scantling's a guy that's a deep threat, right? I mean, historically he was with Aaron Rodgers, so they've got guys. The
Juju Hardman downfield, he has to.
Mecole Hardman's a speed guy,
right?
Juju's more of a possession guy. I understand that,
but he can do it.
But all these other guys, I mean, there's speed out there, right?
Right.
So I don't know if they just can't catch deep balls and so they won't throw it to them or whatever. But either way, that offense is limited and will continue to be limited if they're not throwing the ball downfield. I don't think, and we'll get into the matchup, I don't think they win it without a vertical passing threat.
Gotcha.
Bengals-Bills, I think, is the most surprising game for me. The Bengals won 27-10. That game wasn't really close.
Well, they came out of the gates firing.
Yeah.
Bengals did. I mean, I'm talking bam, bam, bam right down the field.
They could have scored more if they'd wanted to in the second half. And they let off the throttle in the snow.
They're going to throw.
And let me tell you something. That offensive line has been incredibly maligned. They have 3 guys hurt. Everybody's thinking, dude, this Buffalo defense is going to kill Joe Burrow.
I thought that too. I took the Bills. I lost.
And let me tell you, Burrow probably was as clean as he's ever been after a football game.
He gets rid of the ball quick.
Dude. Best quarterback in the league.
I don't know about that, but yeah.
Best quarterback in the league. If I was starting a franchise today, I'd take Joe Burrow over Mahomes, over Allen, all day, every day.
Over Jalen Hurts?
I love Jalen Hurts.
No.
But yes.
I love Jalen Hurts.
But yes, over Jalen Hurts. Look, I'll tell you this about Joe Burrow also in that offense is that obviously they've got great weapons. I mean, Chase is my favorite receiver in all of the world. I mean, that dude is a monster.
Higgins.
But Higgins and Boyd and the tight end, Hurts had some nice plays that game. I think he's a good player.
Mixon's playing well.
Mixon. Look, but one thing I'll tell you about Joe Burrow is that dude's moxie and sort of leadership, or whatever you want to call it, his intangibles, his through the roof.
With the defense, I can't believe the defense
Through the roof.
shut Buffalo to 10 points at Buffalo.
Yeah. Another thing I'm going to say is all props in the world to Brian Daboll, the coach for New York Giants, because that offense was twice as good last year with him as the offensive coordinator than they were this year with Dorsey as the offensive coordinator. Yeah. The coordinator is a problem in Buffalo. They will not be as good ever on offense as they were last year as long as he's there, because that is what happened with Allen and all the turnovers and those things. That is a product of the coaching staff.
Right. I mean, I'll tell you what, the Bengals defense impressed me. Yeah. So, you got Bengals Chiefs. How do you like it?
Bengals Chiefs, because of the Mahomes injury.
In Kansas City.
Because of the Mahomes injury and his inability to be mobile this week, I think it's the Bengals. I think it's the Bengals all day.
Kansas City favored by 1 right now. It started, last I saw was 1.5 Bengals. Then we looked at it earlier and it said 1 Kansas City. I think I'm with you.
As a matter of fact, yeah, I'm taking the Bengals on that game all day long.
Because neither one of these teams are known for their defenses, but what I saw from the Bengals defense,
I was impressed, and they've got them at all levels too, because they got good players up front, they got good players on the back end, and in the middle of the linebacker spot, they got guys that can
that
replace.
High ankle sprain, man, that thing doesn't heal that fast. And if I know he's a sitting duck back there, what are you doing?
You're going to put pressure, aren't you?
All day.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm going to make him hop like he did in that game.
I think so. I just don't think that without the mobility, I don't think he's going to be able to make the plays he normally does. That's going to get that team out of trouble.
And I think the Bengals offense is going to keep doing it, because that Buffalo defense is actually pretty good, and they made them look bad.
Yeah. I was very impressed with that team.
Yeah.
Very, very impressed. And they've got a chance to get 2 of their offensive linemen back who are day-to-day right now.
I don't even know if they need them.
Which they might not need, right?
Jesus.
In the NFC, the Eagles beat the mess out of the Giants. I mean, that thing wasn't a game after the first
we
quarter.
saw the Giants play,
it was 38-7. Yeah.
We were high on the Giants after they beat the Vikings.
Look, and Daniel Jones has definitely been a better quarterback this year under Daboll, right?
Yeah.
Good coaching. They don't have the great weapons on the outside, right?
Got rid of Tony. I can't believe it.
But they were overmatched, and it goes to show you though. Last week they played a team that wasn't very good. They were overmatched against the Eagles, who I think have one of the best rosters in all of football.
I'll give you credit,
if not the best,
because you've been saying this for a long time. You don't overpay your quarterback, and you build weapons and stuff around him, and that's what the Eagles have done. They have a strong defense. They have a good offensive line. They brought in a weapon at receiver in Brown. The running game's good,
and Devontae Smith.
And Smith. I mean, Hurts still playing on the rookie contract. And so you can bring in these guys. And they drafted well, and they have a lot of talent on that team.
They do.
They seem fresh. I mean, I know they had a bye week, but they still seem fresh. Like they're
they looked explosive. They looked like I didn't see a weakness on that team. Yeah. And I've said this for a couple of years now with Jalen Hurts, right? When they brought him into the league, everybody's like, "Oh, he's going to be a good backup," right?
That's what I thought.
Everybody thought he's a good backup.
I didn't think he'd throw the ball
I said, the thing you better watch with Jalen Hurts is, and he's proven it everywhere he's been, he's an absolute
winner,
monster as far as his preparation.
Yeah.
And every year he's played quarterback, he's gotten better. When he was at Alabama, he was more of a runner, but he carried that team with leadership and his effort, and that dude was their rock, right? It was their rock. He goes to Oklahoma. Credit to Riley. He works on his passing, though. Mm-hmm. He becomes a better thrower at Oklahoma. Still not great. Better. A lot better. Working. He gets drafted, right?
Yeah.
Then you see him as a takeover for Wentz. Well, that offense, what did that offense do when he took over? It got better.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, he added a different aspect. I mean, he moves,
the running game, the thing. Last year.
He makes good decisions.
And so I guess last year, everybody's like, oh, who they're going to replace him with? Well, and then he comes in, he's a starter, gets him to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Nobody expects it, right?
No.
But I've said it all along.
Fantasy football.
I said it all along.
Yeah.
That dude, because of the way he works and the dedication he has and the leadership and the toughness and those things, and he just gets better.
Tua beat him
Great
out.
player.
What's that about? Was Tua the better college quarterback?
No, I don't
So
think
Nick
so.
Saban's just an idiot.
Honestly, I've always liked Hurts better than Tua, but that's just me.
Yeah.
So I guess all that to say is I really like what they're doing, and you're right. AJ Brown, adding AJ Brown to that team as a wide receiver was huge for them.
Yeah, I mean they're getting weapons. I mean they don't.
The same thing for Josh Allen, by the way, when they added Diggs. Remember, he jumped
right
ridiculously from year to year.
Makes sense.
And so that does make sense. And then you got the Cowboys and 49ers. Probably the worst game of the weekend in the sense of exciting. It was just ugly. Now it was
kicker for
close.
The Cowboys missed another extra point. It was
12-19. 49ers win.
Jesus.
Brock Purdy now is undefeated as a starter, Mr. Irrelevant.
Well, I'll tell you what, the San Francisco defense is really good. Their offense, they have explosive pieces. I think Purdy's going to see something different this weekend with the Eagles.
Probably for the first time all year, you saw him rattle this past weekend.
Yeah.
And mind you, part of that is because the Cowboys defense is getting tons of pressure on them.
Well, they're fast. The Cowboys defense is real fast, but they're
Parsons is a monster.
Yeah. But I see the Eagles doing the same thing. The Eagles have a lot of talent out there. I mean, so I could see. Who do you like this week? You like the Eagles or the 49ers?
I like the Eagles.
I do too. I like the Eagles. What is it, 2.5 we said?
I think Jalen Hurts is going to make a difference offensively against that 49ers defense, which is one of the best in the league. There's no doubt about it. They can put pressure. They can do all those things. But ultimately, that Eagles defense, on the other hand, I think is going to give them enough fits on the other side. And Brock Purdy's going to him and Elijah Mitchell are both
banged up.
They'll both play.
Oh, I'm sure they will. Yeah, I'll take the Eagles.
But that should be a good matchup too.
Yeah, we'll do a parlay.
All right, questions from the tailgate brought to you by David Coffin PLLC, tax controversy and litigation lawyers, smart solutions for federal tax issues, experienced, respected representation for taxpayers, over 20 years of experience in tax controversy, with offices located in Southlake and now opening in Bryan, College Station. Call 817-251-7049. David Coffin PLLC. Question number 1: will the Aggie basketball team make the tournament this year?
I think so. They got snubbed last year. They got 2 losses that are really bad right now. That Wofford and Murray State. I mean, I hate to see those.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, if we win 4 out of those 7 games,
the prediction folks on ESPN are all saying no. By the way.
What do they know?
What do they know? They
got Florida ahead of us. How the hell is Florida ahead of us? You beat a team once, that's one thing. You beat them twice. I'm not talking one time.
I think they get in, and the reason I think they get in is because I do believe that this team. Look, they played horribly against Kentucky and could have won that game. You know, if a couple of things go their way, right? To me, when they play well, they beat the mess out of teams.
Watch next week. We'll be getting votes for the top 25. If you're getting votes for the top 25, that means you're one of the best 64 teams in the nation.
I think they get in, and I think that's a big credit to Buzz Williams, who takes less talent and does more with it year in and year out. All right, question 2. Biggest factor for this offense to be a top-tier offense in the SEC. And when I say top-tier, I'm talking maybe like top 2, top 3 offenses in the SEC. Football, offense.
Offensive line, play calling. That's the 2 things. Offensive line needs to play better. Not needs, has to play better. It's no longer, I mean, it's like, can they? Yes. Let me
take everything else off the freaking board. Forget play calling. Forget everything else. Just don't. I'm not. One thing. Mm-hmm. Canadazio, who was horrible last year, do a much better job under Petrino.
I think he will.
And have this offensive line play, even mediocre offensive line play. And this will be a top-tier offense because the weapons are incredible.
Yes.
The weapons are incredible. If the offensive line, if Adazio can sit in there and get those guys to play decent football, and they got talent.
Right. They have a lot of talent.
A lot of talent.
A lot of talent.
This offense will be a top tier offense in the SEC.
You say offensive line, I say that with you, but I think play calling's got to be a lot better. You got to get these guys in situations.
But I think that's already taken care of because they've already replaced the offensive coordinator.
I think that was a lot to do with the offensive line. They were putting them in bad situations. You see a 7-man, 8-man front.
Here's another thing that I think is important with regards to getting an offensive coordinator, a true offensive coordinator. You know, because when you look at Jimbo and what he was doing last year, he was head coach, and then he was offensive coordinator, and he was the quarterback's coach. And so I don't think that he was able to spend a ton of time like trying to figure out what's wrong with the offensive line, what do we have to tweak and change and do else. Petrino doesn't have all those head coaching responsibilities. He, you know, all those things are good. Him as the offensive coordinator will be able to work with Adazio a little bit better and make sure that they're doing the things necessary to continuously improve that offense. Not to mention the system's going to be simpler for the offensive line. They should be better, but that is the number one, 100% and only thing that gets this offense to a tier 1 offense.
All right.
Giga Maggies, AP, the delivery man, signing out from the tailgate.